German man lived right there, this little town right there, Hertzville. Anyhow, he told me, he said, you know, that y'all killed so many Germans that morning. He said, we had to, when the thaw came, we had to leave town. The odor was so bad. Mm-hmm. Said they were stacked up in rows down there on the 28th. You don't ever see anything about that. Yeah, we still thought we was going to be an army occupation. Things were going pretty good then. And we had a little pamphlet of phrases and so forth. We were learning French and German. And we spent the night on the side of the road, and the road sign that said Paris this way and Liège this way. Mm-hmm. And it turned toward Liège. I knew my geography. I knew that. I said, boy, I'm going to tell y'all something. We're not going to army occupation. And by that night, you could see lightning in the background, the cannons firing and the artillery. Yeah, about the 1st of November. It began to snow there in the Ardennes at that time, the day we moved in line. We were on the Belgian border, the highway between Belgium and Germany, called the International Highway. I could see it. We would move down a little ways, and I could see German tanks were coming, moving. Mm-hmm. I could hear them fire up in the morning. Mm-hmm. The guy in the photo said, "What is that?" I said, "I know what that is. I hope it's ours," but it wasn't ours. They told us the first day, they started on the 16th, to hold up. We were attacking Pillbox. We were attacking toward Royal River Dam, try to block it so they wouldn't cut it. And we pulled back, and we didn't see any combat that day. We saw a lot of cannon fire and a lot of artillery and spent bullets, but we really didn't. But then early on the 17th, they said, get back down the road, leave everything you can't carry, and get down there fast. The Germans are breaking through. And we walked downhill was easy then. Sat beside the road a minute, bullets flying everywhere. They come around and said, take somebody with you and go in till you meet the Germans. So I walked over a hill and waved like this. No German. I walked over another one. And I walked over that next hill. They shot my rifle and threw it in my hand. The guy with me was named Alvin Swisher, and he was right behind me. And as I flopped to the ground, I had a pack on my back. They were shooting through the pack. They were shooting tracer bullets. He laid across me, and they shot him right between the eyes. Mm-hmm. Just like you taking a pencil and stuck it right between, and killed him right there. And I rolled him off. And I finally decided they weren't going to take me. I just make a run for it, and our guys then began to fire back at them a little bit that was leading in there. And I zigzagged up the hill and escaped. I got back there, and we held them that afternoon. And we moved down probably 100 yards east, I guess east, maybe north. Your direction's kind of mixed up over there. That's where I could see out of the forest and I could see the German tanks on the 17th coming down the road, cranking up, making a tractor, not like tractors, boom, boom, and they squeaked. Those boogie wheels on those Jeeps, every time they turned, they squeaked loud on there. And from then on, we were under attack completely, direct attack with bullets and people flying. And they told us we had to hold that road open for 3 days so the 2nd Division, which was on our left, could get back and help us hold the road. The only paved road there was to Elsenborn from Creek Hill. And the night of the 3rd night, they told us we'd held long enough to pull back. So we walked back toward the Elsenborn. There was a rise back there where you could, no trees, where you could see out. And we got just about back there, about turn around, said turn around and go back, got to hold one more day. We hadn't had anything to eat. We hadn't, in fact, one battalion commander refused to go back, and they busted and transferred him. I don't know what. But there we about daylight we got back where we were in position. Germans were just getting up. They were in our foxhole. Walked right into them with their bayonet. We'd fixed bayonets, and we threw them out. I can't recall that. I blacked that out. It just I probably did. One guy in the bunch, I remember, and it might have been me. I can't tell you that. I can't give you details on that. Stuck bayonet through him and fired every round he had in his gun in him after he bayoneted him. I remember that. I don't remember which one of us did that, and I can't say what happened. I just cannot recall. It is bad. But I sure ended up with his boots and his pistol. It was the third day. I was in the outpost there, and there was a trail coming across. I had a view from where I was, pretty good. And I said, Lloyd Peterson was with me. I said, Lloyd, you ever mad at any Germans? He said, not really. I said, well, you better get mad. You fix to have to shoot one. He said, what are you talking about? And I said, that's the scout and the assistant coming right down that line over there. You watch them walk through there. I said, they're leading the attack. I said, if we don't shoot them, they're going to shoot us. I said, I'll tell you, I'll take the first one, and you take the second one, and we'll shoot them when we get a little bit closer. I'll tell you when. And when I got ready to pull the trigger on mine, I said, I don't really want to kill him. It'd be better if I just wound him. Then I'd take somebody to take care of him. Mm-hmm. And I pulled off a little bit because I heard him hollering that later. I lowered it. I probably died anyhow at the position he's in. But that was on the third day we was there. That'd be the 18th. Mm. They were coming in. They were leading the attack. They were the scout. Mm-hmm. When we pulled back then, that night, the German tanks had moved in between us and where we were going, but they couldn't tell whether we was American or German in the dark. We were pulled right by those tanks and dug in. We got a fast thing. They gonna send us to a rest camp. We were shot up and said dig in, and by daylight on the 20th, here they come again up the road. Everybody was pulled back just about a little way, and I realized I was the only one up there near it. I was firing away, but I could hear somebody behind me. Looked around, it was Colonel Peters. He had that P-45 pistol on that quirt, and he was damn boy shooting at him with that. He couldn't hit the side of a building with that pistol, but he was shooting at him. He was a mean bastard in the States, but he's also a mean bastard in the combat. I changed my opinion of him. He's pretty good fellow. It's pretty scary. In the forest, you're not safe in a foxhole unless it's covered. We had some foxholes before the Bulge started. We put logs over the top of them, but they hit the tree bursts. We're hitting the trees and coming down scattered. Now there, on the Elsenborn, where they were zeroed in on us the third or fourth day, it seemed like the whole world is just room. one guy in there in the foxhole with me said he's gonna make a run for it. Shouldn't take it. I said no. You not either. He said, yeah, I can't take it. I said, you're gonna be shot as a deserter. I said, you'd rather be shot by the enemy and be a hero, or shot by enemy being a deserter. He said, I can't help it. I'm gonna make a run. And he said, okay. I said, I think we're gonna be killed, all right. I'm gonna die in combat. And I said, you are too. I said, because if you run, I'm gonna shoot you. He looked at me real pitiful. He said, you really wouldn't shoot me, would you? And I said, yeah, I think it would be the best thing for you. I do. I don't want to, but I would. He didn't go. I don't know. I found him and got him coming to reunions, but he never mentioned that day. We never mentioned it. We couldn't get out of our foxhole for days there. At night, we get out at night and go to the bathroom. One night, I might have told you these stories. I repeat sometimes. And that cold wind blowing, and we tried to keep one man, two men to a foxhole. One man asleep and one man watching 24 hours all the time. And I was on watch. I imagine we couldn't see our watches or keep time. I imagine we were switching every 30 minutes probably, but anyhow, I leaned up and I could hear something, boom, boom, boom. Then I'd get it down, wait a minute, and I'd lean up again. I could hear something. I pulled a grenade and threw it into that north wind. And I must have thrown it straight up in the air because it nearly come back and hit us nearly. I got settled down a little bit. I got back up there and listened again. It was my heart thumping against that frozen ground, what I was hearing. I never did tell the guys that. They said, boy, they got close to you last night. I never did tell them what it was me. One day it cleared off. Well, it was Christmas Eve. The American planes had not been out at all. In any documentary, he shows all that vapor trails and planes. They were out. And the German planes fighter planes were out too. And boy in the foxhole with me said, boy, that's dangerous up there. I'm sure glad I'm not up there. I said, you crazy bastard, it's kind of dangerous down here. And if we don't kill us today, we're gonna be here in the morning. If they don't kill them today, they're gonna be back in the sheets, sleeping between sheets and drinking beer. I said, I wish I'd up there with. But we held in that same position, no matter what the threat, till the 28th. And I was on an outpost out there on the morning of the 28th. And there's a ravine between Crinky out down the trees down in there. And it was foggy every morning where the snow was on the ground. It was just fog in that forest. It looked like a whole damn German army was coming across there. And it looked like they didn't know we were there.
On Elsenborn Ridge?
They had packs and a horse pulling artillery and stuff. And I fired into them. They won't give a warning. And about that time, the artillery had a forward observer down there too, because I know that they were on alert. They started firing into them, and we stopped that whole attack on that day. The artillery just really tore them up. Of course, if our artillery probably was better than theirs, if it was, theirs was pretty good. You think lightning can't hit twice the same place? They get the artillery set in on the zero and fire the same shot. He's going to hit nearly in the same place. I'm afraid the 2nd Division probably killed them. They come down the road to Bend, where the German line was, and really had their hands up. I don't guess I captured them. I mean, I took their rifles and took them on back up. I guess you could say you captured them, but you didn't do anything brave to do it. But after I marched, started back down that hill, I heard some rifle fire. They may have killed them. I figured at the time it was nearly 3-1. Either got sick or you got battle fatigue, which wasn't very many, or wounded or killed. I think there was 4 killed out of my 12-man squad. There might have been another one, maybe. But there was a big turnover. I asked him how many people still in his company from D-Day. He said none, not one. He said everybody's been wounded or killed from D-Day to the Bulge. Then the next day I was a BAR man, and I was assistant BAR man. But you know, these assistants get promoted pretty quick in the Army, in combat. I was a squad leader, scout, BAR man, all 3 put together before long. And this regular squad leader said, you take this squad, said, I can't keep up with it. He was an older guy. He said, I can't do this. That's why I got promoted to sergeant. I went on, I got a lot of outpost assignments, a lot of scouts, a lot of ways to get killed. Not go out and look for prisoners, not. And the old first sergeant said, I agree. He said, I thought you'd be dead. He said, I thought you could do the job. He said, I wasn't sure about some of the rest of them. That, if they tell you about noon, you sit there and pee in your pants before you go. While you're working, while you're going, or while you're fighting, it's all right. But dread, it's terrible. One time in January, I'd never been back anywhere. I went back to get some supplies, walking down the road nearly into Elsenborn. The truck driver stopped and picked me up. He said, where are you going? I told him. He said, you got to get back in a certain time. And I said, yeah, I got to get back by dark. He said, come go with me, ride shotgun with me. So I got in that truck, and we drove to WWII. We got over there. It's a modern city in Belgium. People going back to work, walking down the streets, escalators, merchandise. It's like they're changing into the world to another world. So I went to a beer joint there and said, I'll be back in an hour or so. And I sat around and drank a beer and got back. I still filthy, it hadn't shaved anything. Got back in the truck, went back to combat, just like a day had happened in another world. The day of the 30th of January, when we took back that land, it was about 0 and blowing, and we were supposed to get in the woods before daylight, and they had a crossfire and they just slaughtered us across there. I got a small wound, again, but the frozen. I was frozen. In fact, I made it. I was going to die pretty quick because pain in my groin, the flesh was frozen. I laid there till dark, and I elbowed it out and put me on a sled. And then a weasel is a Jeep with the tracks on the side. They put a couple stretchers on top of there and took me back to the field hospital. I finally woke up. They shaved, bathed me clean. I thought I died and gone to heaven. Anyhow, a nurse come by and I said, you better bring me my clothes. I feel better. She said, what are you talking about? I said, I need my clothes. I need to get back. They need me. You know, I was out of my mind. said, "You're crazy. You don't realize this. But for you, the war's over." Said, "You're never going back. You'll never be back." Yes, they would stick pins in there in your toes. It turned black. But if they stuck a pin in there and you hollered, they'd leave you alone for the next day. If you didn't holler, they won't take you to surgery and cut them off. And I hollered when I couldn't feel anything. They take my holster. I had a little German holster, P-38, and it was gone. But I had the pistol. I still had it. And that same nurse that came by, that trying to tend to that board, said, "You can't have that pistol in the hospital." I said, "Give me that pistol." I said, "You can't have it." I was about half knocked out after all I'd been through. And finally she came back the third time, said, "Doctor told me to get that pistol." I cocked that pistol. I said, "Tell the doctor to come get it himself if he wants it." She come back and she sat down and punched holes in that leather and tied them under my pajamas. And I went from the field hospital to Liège, to Paris General, to Scotland, to the United States, to Boston, to Colorado Springs, where I ended up with that pistol. And I still got that pistol. I went through convalescence and then rehab, but I pretty well, other than wanting my clothes back, go back to the Army, I kept sane pretty much all the time. I think that was an insane thought. First year I was back at home just before Christmas. I wasn't married then, but Virginia was with me. I don't know why. But anyhow, I dove in a car, took shelter right just like that. I think it was a firecracker instead of a car popping, but yeah. But I slept all right after that. I got over it. I didn't have nightmares from it particularly. I just raced it. Well, I did have some effect from it. In my major, we had a really easy course to take. It was a grade point course, but they had to kill some chickens and bleed them. And I found it in the classroom when the blood started running out. That old teacher, he was pretty patriotic. He said, "You don't need to come back to lab anymore. I'll give you an A." We didn't talk about it. Nobody talked about the war for 30, 40 years. Then as we began to get older, they wanted to talk to somebody. Virginia didn't know what to do when I was in. My wife, I never told her anything. Never. We had our lieutenant in my company had lieutenant. Got in his foxhole, wouldn't come out. And boy, they all hated him there. They tried to evacuate him. And he's from Louisville, Kentucky. We had a reunion there. He phoned me, said, "Oh, he'd love to come." But he had appointments or something else. Said, "Would you meet me down the lobby and visit with me?" He wanted to go, and I said, "Yeah, I'll bring Jake Hayes with me." He said, "Well, I got a few minutes history there." And so I went to see Jake. Jake was our platoon sergeant. And Jake said, "I swore if I ever saw him again, I was going to whip him." I said, "No, Jake, he was scared. He was scared just like we were. He just didn't know how to react to it." no matter what happened with the riot and how they built up Bastogne and how they talk about the Battle of Bulge, he said, if it hadn't been for the 99th and the 2nd Division, we could have lost that battle. He said we had supplies, Camp Elsenborn, within 3 or 4 miles of Elsenborn. There was a railroad station there, and they'd bring the trucks. The railroad won't run in, but the truck. All the gas, food, ammunition, everything was stored there. He said if they'd got it, they'd have been, if they'd gone over the 99 on the 2nd day like they're supposed to, they would have had supplies to cut it, to surround the 2nd Division and the English Division. You trained with them, you fought with them, and you slept in a huddle with them in a foxhole. You do get the feeling of brotherhood that you couldn't have with anybody else. You know, a guy lived through that and doesn't have any reason to worry about living, does he? He just lives a free life. My wife always said, don't you worry about that, don't you worry about that? I said, Virginia, I haven't got a worry in the world. I'm here